Hi, welcome to College Football Talk. I'm Mike Gross.
And I'm Chris Begdonis.
And Week 9 is now in the books for college football.
What a weekend it was. Plenty of upsets, plenty of blowouts. You really had the whole thing on display. It was one of the better weekends we'll probably see the entire season.
And a lot of games came down to the wire in the fourth quarter. Stanford and Oregon State on Thursday. Stanford only won by a point as the number 20 team in the country, and it's pretty concerning for them.
Yeah, I mean, Bryce Love, he was supposed to really carry this Stanford team to, and, Oregon State, 1-7, 0-5 in the Pac-12. This should have been a real whitewash for Stanford.
Yeah, Memphis completely blew out Tulane. And the biggest game of the weekend, in my opinion, Ohio State, Penn State.
Oh.
Ohio State, with the comeback victory, outscoring Penn State 19-3 in the fourth quarter. And JT Barrett just put on an exhibition for these Penn State Nittany Lions.
Well, yeah, what can we say about JT Barrett? I mean, senior year, it's really his time to shine. Of course, Ohio State has already have a national championship to their name with JT Barrett running the ship, but you really got to tip your cap to this team.
And one thing that surprises me, actually it does not surprise me because he is a very versatile quarterback. JT Barrett not only had 330 passing yards and 4 touchdowns, but he led the game, or led the Ohio State offense in rushing as well.
Yeah.
He had almost 100 rushing yards, which blew out anybody else throughout the game. They could not stop Saquon Barkley, though, in the first quarter. He got the kickoff return.
Oh, my God.
And he's still doing it. He's still electric. No matter what, Saquon Barkley, win or lose, if Penn State win or loses, is still a top Heisman candidate.
He could still have easily, even though JT Barrett really stole the show, he still could have easily been the best player on the field that day.
Yep, and the final score is 39 Ohio State, 38 Penn State.
Wow.
Number 3, Georgia over Florida, 42-7.
Pretty convincing.
Pretty bad for Florida as well. Iowa State upsetting TCU at Iowa State, 25-4. So there's only 3 touchdowns scored in this game, 14-7, and Iowa State is now a force to be reckoned with in the Big 12.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Kemp, 200 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, a really solid game, and I would call it a really solid win for Iowa State, taking down the 4th team in the country.
And TCU, I think, moved all the way down to 10, ranked 10. Wisconsin, no surprise. They're 8-0, 5-0 in the Big Ten so far, 24-10 over Illinois.
Yeah, I mean, they keep going. I mean, Wisconsin, even though there's been Saquon Barkley, they've been doing so well this season. They've been quietly doing their thing, and that really deserves some more attention. But also in some other games, Clemson defeating Georgia Tech, not much of a surprise. 7th team in the country. I mean, Kelly Bryant, what can we say about him? 200 yards, passing, 2 touchdowns. And Miami, a bit closer than they would have liked, a bit too close for comfort, but they do get the win, 24-19. And the Fighting Irish, I must say, the luck of the Irish has returned.
Yes. Notre
Dame defeating a 14th seed and NC State 35-14. I mean,
coming off the blowout win at USC, now beating NC State by 3 touchdowns. Notre Dame, now going into Week 10, is ranked 5. I mean, this team cannot get any better. They are 100% looking at a bowl game and might even be looking at a college football playoff.
Yeah. Josh Adams, I mean, he's incredible. He's one of the elite players in college football this season. I think he should be in the conversation with Saquon Barkley and Bryce Love as one of the best running backs in college football.
Great point. Oklahoma winning big over Texas Tech. No surprise there. Oklahoma State, although going into West Virginia, Big 12 matchup, beating West Virginia, scoring 50 over West Virginia's 39. You think West Virginia blew it at home?
I think you just really got to tip your cap to Oklahoma State. I mean, J.D. King, a touchdown, along with another 140 rushing yards. Him and the Oklahoma State offense have been really special this season.
I agree.
And number 12, Washington, really handing it to UCLA, 44-23 final. Jake Browning, 8 for 11, 98 yards. He did throw an interception, but they got the win. I think that's what matters for this Washington team.
Yes. Virginia Tech only let up a field goal in the second quarter against Duke, winning 24-3. This is amazing for this Virginia Tech defense, and it gives them real confidence going into next week.
Yeah.
Arizona upsetting Luke Falk and Washington State. Just amazing.
I mean, for Washington State, putting 37 points up in a game is a pretty good tally, but it's unacceptable to give up 58 back. I mean, you give up double digits in every quarter of the game. I mean...
My apologies. Luke Falk did not play. So this is why this Washington State team lost to unranked Arizona. Now ranked 23, and Tyler Helinski still had a game against Arizona. 509 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. He went 45 for 61 with his completions.
Wow.
It's about 75% completion rate. Yeah. For a backup quarterback for this Washington State team, he's really showing that he can play.
Yeah.
At the first quarterback.
I don't think they'll really be missing Luke Falk if you get a performance from him, but I think now the defense needs a little revising, and then I think they'll be back on their winning ways. But Northwestern upsetting Michigan State 39-31 final. And Brian Lewerke, 4 touchdowns, 39 for 57, but it just wasn't enough for this Northwestern team. You got to give Justin Jackson a lot of credit. 41 yards, a touchdown. But I think this is a really surprising result this weekend.
Yeah.
But Houston, they defeat the 17th seeded South Florida 28-24, and Quentin Flowers 23 for 38, 325 yards. So obviously, South Florida, they need to change something.
Yeah, Mackenzie Milton and UCF just gliding over Austin Peay. 73-33. Very high-scoring game for UCF. Not a lot of defense shown by Austin Peay. And USC going big over Arizona State, 48-17.
Sam Darnold, 3 touchdowns, 260 yards. Hopefully he's coming back into that really good form we've seen for a lot of this season.
I hope so. And going into Week 10, Alabama's sticking up there, taking a nice relax,
Yeah.
Georgia moving up to number 2 after the Penn State loss to Ohio State, which boosts Ohio State to number 3.
Yeah.
Wisconsin going up 1. They're number 4 now. Notre Dame, deservingly so, are number 5.
Yeah.
And I just love this Notre Dame Fighting Irish team.
I do. I totally agree. This team has been really dynamic as of late, getting 2 really big wins, and I just think they're going to keep rolling this season. I think this is really, the final stretch almost, but I'm really excited to watch this team.
Penn State moving down to 7. Oklahoma moving up 2 spots to 8. Miami, not a very convincing win against North Carolina, dropped them down a seed. And TCU down 6 to number 10.
Ugh.
Oklahoma State moving up. And it's really just NC State. They moved down as well. Michigan State also moved down. Washington State also moved down. So a lot of big time teams losing this week, now moving down in the rankings, and still unranked is Michigan. Now, I know they didn't play last week, but I'm gonna go. We'll go back to my point from last week. They really should be ranked. They really should be ranked.
I don't know. Hopefully, Jim Harbaugh takes last weekend and he really works his players because they've really been playing poor the last few weeks. They really need to turn around if they want to be ranked again.
You're right. You are right. What about the Football Power Index?
Oh, of course.
Alabama's still sitting.
Alabama's sitting pretty number one. I mean, I don't think they're gonna. I don't think they want to leave. I don't think they're gonna leave. And Oklahoma State. Oh no. Oh, silly me. Ohio State.
Oh, good.
My apologies.
Oh, good.
Number 2. I think they deserve that. A big comeback win. Penn State. Number 3. After really choking in the fourth quarter, but I don't know.
I mean, Penn State. If you think about it, all of these teams below Penn State should be able to beat.
They should.
But can they beat the uprising Notre Dame? Can they beat the number 2 seed Georgia? Can they beat Clemson, Oklahoma? That is the question for Penn State.
Yeah.
Is their season still alive at 7-1? Can they still make a college football playoff? Can they make a big bowl game? Can they win their conference? Now, the only way for them to win their conference is for Ohio State to lose 2 more games. But all Ohio State has left is Michigan, and then some lower teams.
Yeah.
So that's going to be rough for Penn State and the Big Ten, with Ohio State now leading the pack.
Yeah. I mean, really, it's such a great thing to see how open the field is in college football. You know, obviously Alabama, but so many lesser known, smaller colleges, they've really stepped it up, and their teams really have the recognition they deserve. This weekend, though.
This weekend is a very good weekend for college football. Like last weekend, Memphis is going to play on Friday night. They're going to play Tulsa. A 2-7 Tulsa.
Yeah.
So this should be a breeze for Memphis.
It doesn't look like a big surprise on who's going to win, but Wisconsin and Indiana, number 4 Wisconsin. I think I see this going only one way. But another 2 ranked teams going head to head, Michigan State, Penn State, both losing last weekend. But I still think Saquon Barkley and Trace McSorley, I think they're going to run this game. And, one of the more lesser known offensive weapons on this Penn State team is, Deshaun Hamilton. He's really put together a strong season, and with that in mind, I think Penn State has this game in the bag against Michigan State. But Auburn, Texas A&M, they're 5-3, 3-2 in the SEC. They are facing a division rival, but I still think the number 16 Auburn has this one in the bag.
Could Texas A&M beating Auburn create an opening for them to join the top 25?
Definitely, I 100% think so.
All right. Mississippi State going up against UMass. This should be an easy game for Nick Fitzgerald and the rest of the rushing for Mississippi State. He's got 10 touchdowns already.
Wow.
And number 2 Georgia up against South Carolina. Now, I see this only going one way as well.
Yeah.
But South Carolina is still very good. Jake Bentley, quarterback, is just absolutely unbelievable. He has almost 1,800 passing yards and 13 touchdowns, and he's really leading this South Carolina team that is unranked at 6-2.
Yeah, but still, Nick Chubb and the University of Georgia offense, they have been phenomenal this year. Obviously, they might kind of be playing in Alabama's shadow, but you really got to give them credit. Nick Chubb, over 760 yards and 9 touchdowns on the season. Those are some really good numbers.
Ohio State should have another win against Iowa, although Iowa did give Penn State some trouble down the stretch in their game. This is going to be back in Iowa City at Kinnick Stadium. So, will they be able to upset Ohio State?
Hey, I think anything can happen. Even though J.T. Barrett still a standout player, 25 touchdowns, almost over 2,000 yards. But I still think that Iowa has a chance in their home stadium. I think anything can happen.
Notre Dame up against Wake Forest. They should fight their way to that win.
Now the Fighting Irish, I see it ending well for the number 5 Notre Dame.
And very, very heated matchup in the ACC.
Wow.
NC State going up against Clemson, who, if you remember, lost to unranked Syracuse at Syracuse.
Yeah.
Now Clemson are also the away team at Carter Finley Stadium in Raleigh, North Carolina. So NC State has the upper hand.
Yeah. I mean, Ryan Finley, I think he could really have a standout game. He already has over 2,100 yards and 12 touchdowns on the season. And this Clemson team, they were very shaky against Syracuse, and they're on the road again. Hopefully they have a short memory because I don't think they want to be thinking about that Syracuse game.
I agree with you. West Virginia, dropping out of the top 25, is going to host Iowa State, who have made their way up in the top 25. Stanford is going to play Washington State. Now, Washington State needs to win this game to hold on to a spot in the top 25 and possibly a bowl game.
Yeah.
The big game of the weekend, the college game day game of the weekend. Oklahoma at Oklahoma State from Stillwater, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Now, this matchup between Baker Mayfield and Mason Rudolph, could this be the best matchup you've seen so far in college football?
I think so. Two incredible quarterbacks. If they declare for the NFL draft, I could see them being a very high first-round pick. But Justice Hill, he's putting together a really good season for Oklahoma State as well. Over 800 yards and 7 touchdowns. But I think this is going to be a really entertaining game. Both teams are Oklahoma's 8, Oklahoma State's 11, 2 top 15, 1 is top 10. This will be a really great matchup. And number 10 TCU, after facing a really shock defeat last weekend, they play a 4-4 Texas team, and I think blue skies are coming back to TCU. Obviously, Kenny Hill, he's going to look for a bounce-back game, and I think he'll get it against Texas. But SMU, UCF, after UCF blew out 73-33, a really incredible offensive game, they do face a 6-2 SMU team. They kind of go under the radar almost. Some might even say they should be in the top 25, but I still think that Ben Hicks might struggle against the UCF defense. But another big game, Alabama, number 1 in the country, going up against LSU. I think this will be a really entertaining game. I think it could be a really shock win for LSU.
And LSU is known to upset big teams like Alabama. And going into Alabama, they're 3-1 in the SEC. They're 6-2 overall, and they're ranked 19. Now, it's not really looking good for LSU because of the power and the strength that Alabama has. But this could be a big game for LSU.
Yeah,
coming down the stretch, they could, if they find a way to win and beat Alabama, which no team has done this season, they could easily be considered one of the best teams in college football.
Yeah, I would say they're in the top 10 if they could beat Alabama this over the weekend. But Miami and Virginia Tech, another top 15 matchup, and Malik Rosier. What can you not say about this guy? 2,000 yards passing, 17 touchdowns. And, I guess his best friend, best buddy, Cam Phillips, I think he's feeling the love from him. 6 touchdowns, almost 700 yards receiving. So, another really entertaining game for the 7-0 Miami.
Yep. And number 12, Washington, is going to go up against Oregon, who won all of college football a few years ago. Kind of fallen off a little bit, but still holding on. And 17, USC and Sam Darnold is going to go up against Khalil Tate and Arizona. This could be a big game for Sam Darnold and USC, that if they lose, they may be at the risk of dropping out of the top 25.
I agree. I think they should really, Sam Darnold, he's had a really great season, and if he can continue how he's played, then I wouldn't have to worry for USC in their top 25 hopes after this weekend.
I agree. Now let's talk about the SEC a little bit. Now SEC, like most conferences, they'll have an East and a West, a North and a South, two different divisions within the conference. Leading the SEC West is Alabama. No surprise there. And Georgia leading the East. Now, South Carolina is not too far behind Georgia in the East. And I don't think anybody else has a chance, any other team has a chance to go up above Georgia. But you look at Auburn, you look at LSU, maybe even look at Mississippi State, that might be a stretch.
Yeah.
But these teams, if they were in the SEC East, may definitely have a chance up against Georgia.
Yeah.
Now, we don't know if they're going to have a chance up against Alabama.
Yeah.
and Nick Saban, but could the SEC championship game still be Alabama and Georgia, or could we see a different team from the SEC West?
I mean, the SEC West, Alabama, they're doing their thing, but it would be an incredible game to watch Georgia and Alabama face off. Right now, number 1, number 2 in the country, so that would be a powerhouse matchup. One of the best games we'll see in the season.
Alabama and Georgia, both 8-0, leading all of college football. And along with Wisconsin, I think, who are also 8-0.
Yep.
And this should be an interesting race to see if Alabama may lose the first game of this season for college football.
Yeah. I'm really excited.
Me too. It should be a great weekend. And that's College Football Talk. I'm Mike Gross.
And I'm Chris Bagdonis.
And this is Raider News.
See you.